Am I the asshole for reminding my mom that she disappeared for 6 years? My 18 mom and dad divorced 6 years ago. Her new husband didn't want her to see my dad, and so she let my dad have custody of me and didn't exercise visitation. She contacted us last month, saying she had divorced him and would like to reconnect. Dad told me it's up to me, so I said why not? Things have been kind of awkward between us. Obviously, I've changed a lot since last time she saw me. When she came over yesterday, I was reading An Offer from a Gentleman. My mom said you're too young to be reading these toxic romance books. I just stared at her and said I was 12 when you disappeared 6 years ago. I'm 18 now. She spluttered for a moment and then told me there is no need to use that word, that she made a mistake and there is no reason to throw it in her face. Am I the asshole for not telling my uncles we won't inherit anything? Before my 18 meters, Grandma passed away. She and I had an arrangement. She gave me money to buy horror novels and I read them to her twice a week. We spent a fair amount of time together. During one of our last sessions, she confided in me that she wanted to leave all her money to charities but decided to leave a college fund for my cousin 16F since Uncle Henry lost a massive part of his savings through gambling. The guy thought he could recover all he lost by making a big bet on Mike Tyson, but then Jake Paul won, so he ended up losing even more. Grandma asked me not to tell anyone about this and I didn't. I kept my mouth shut. When my dad and uncles found out, they reacted in different ways. Dad wasn't really that surprised since Grandma was rather charitable, especially in her later years. Uncle Henry was grateful for the fund, but Uncle John was quite upset, saying that she's their mom and should have left them something. All three of them got suspicious and asked me if Grandma told me about this during one of the afternoons I spent at her place. I admitted that I knew about it and Uncle John said I should have told them first instead of letting them find out this way. That it wouldn't hurt so much if he had time to prepare instead of being caught off guard. Am I the asshole for accusing my father of using me as a backup for when his legitimate sons screw up? I 18 meters, am an illegitimate son. My father cheated on his wife with my mom. His wife only allows him to see me 1 hour at the end of each month and on my birthdays. Through him, I have 2 older half-brothers and 1 older half-sister. My father owns a company. Imports machinery from US and Europe. My older brothers were supposed to go into the business, but as my father told me on my birthday yesterday, they confess that they regularly skipped English classes and can't communicate in English well enough. Not to mention the 2 developed drinking problems. He doesn't trust them. I asked him what about my sister? And he said he can't let a woman take over the business. Which really sucks since she's the only one of my half-siblings I like and have anything resembling a familial relationship with. We text and sometimes call each other. Considering the book she recommended to me, her English is as good as if not better than mine. Then he told me I'm his last hope and he wants me to start working soon. He knows that my English is relatively good. I've got several stacks of English novels lying around at home. I said to him, so for my entire life you were okay with seeing me only 1 hour a month, but now that your legitimate sons screw up you want me to go work for you. Was I just a backup plan? He got angry and said I have no right to judge him when I have never been through what he had to deal with, and that it took all his efforts to save his marriage. That being an adult means having to compromise and I can't understand him until I get married myself. Then he told me he expects to see me at the office soon. I just don't know. Am I wrong for being too harsh on him? Am I the asshole for kicking out my mom's boyfriend? When I was 17 my mom came into money. She tried to keep it quiet but she paid off my dad's debts, bought him a small house, paid off her debts and paid for my sister's college and set up funds for mine. She had a boyfriend at the time and shortly after him and his son who was 7 moved into our new house. Over the next few years mom bought my sister a house after she graduated college. Her boyfriend lived with us and didn't pay anything but he did work. When I was 21 mom got diagnosed with cancer. It wasn't good. She sat me and my sister down and went over exactly how much money there was. She intended to give her current house to me and both me and my sister were left with a large sum at the end of it. She asked if I would allow her boyfriend to stay in the house with his son until he got his own place. I agreed. Before she died, she told her boyfriend he would need to look for his own place, but had time to save more for that journey. For the last 4 years he has continued to reside in the house with his son. I haven't minded because we get along okay. I pay all the bills but he does buy food for him and his kid. He has dated off and on and mostly kept the women out of this house, which I respected him for. Until his current partner. She's been in my house 3 times and at first besides feeling a little uncomfortable, I was okay with her. The last time this past weekend was the point where I lost my shit. I was making myself some lunch when she came walking downstairs. She grabbed a plate and went to grab food out of my pan. I asked her what she thought was doing. She started telling me how I should look for somewhere else to live, and leeching off my dead mom's past relationship as an adult was pathetic. I hollered for my mom's old boyfriend. He came down and I told him I didn't know what he current thing thought, but I wasn't going to be disrespected in my house. He wouldn't even look me in the eyes as he mumbled something about my mom promising him the house, and he was just being kind, letting me stay. First, that isn't remotely true. Mom pulled him and I together after she asked if he could stay to set expectations. My mom met him shortly before she won the money and told him and us girls that she had no intention of leaving him money. She did set aside a fund for his son for college when he gets there, but he cannot touch it, only his son can. He has lived in this house almost 8 years without paying a dime. He should have plenty of money, and if he doesn't, that's on him. I told him he had 30 days to leave. I wasn't going to house someone who would lie and disrespect me in my house. He left that night with his son, but his ex-wife called to tell me I am cruel and in awe for her son losing his house. He is here every other week. I really feel like my mom didn't expect him to still be here, but my sister said she feels like I am breaking my promise to my mom, and that made me feel like maybe I am the Am I the asshole for not giving my niece the porcelain doll my mother left for her? My niece J10F was the only granddaughter when my mother died in 2020. When she died, she wanted my niece to have her porcelain doll collection, which had around 6 dolls. These porcelain dolls were around when I was a child, and I had memories of getting in trouble for playing with them. They were absolutely beautiful. Well, when my mother died, I, 29F, decided to keep one doll. I know it wasn't left to me, but I felt like they meant more to me than they could to my niece. I contemplated giving it back to her when she was old enough to appreciate it. We're from Louisiana and Hurricane Laura hit when we evacuated. I took the doll with me because I knew it was sentimental and irreplaceable. My niece, however, let all of the remaining 5 dolls get ruined in Hurricane because she let them in the house when where got ruined. My twin sister, Jay's mom, thinks that it's only fair that I give Jay the doll. I kept safe because after all it was left for her. My argument is that if I would have gave her the doll, it would have gotten ruined with the other ones because she didn't care enough about them to take them her with her. Fast forward, we are now in 2025 and I have a daughter of my own. I 100% believe if my mom would have known she was gonna have another granddaughter, she would have left a doll to her. Am I the asshole for not telling my kid I'm not her actual dad? So for context, when I 24 meters, was 19 when my mom had my younger sister, MJ, not actually her name for privacy. My mom was a drug addict, stopping during pregnancy, but when MJ was about 5 months old she started back on drugs, dropping MJ off any place she could. Seeing this, I wanted to give MJ a life that she deserved, not what our mother gave me. Even though I was only 19, I filed a petition to get custody of her. It was a long, hard process, but when MJ was 2, I finally got full custody. All this to say, I'm legally MJ's dad. I'm the only dad she knows and she calls me dad. A year ago I met my girlfriend, AITA, 24F, and we started dating not long after. I really thought I found somebody to like me in MJ. AITA would always take MJ on girls' days and little dates. I proposed to AITA on Sunday. It seemed like everything was great until a few hours ago. AITA was at my apartment having dinner with me and MJ. Well, when I was cooking dinner, I heard MJ say something along the lines of "You're gonna marry my daddy, and you're gonna be best friend." I thought it was cute until I heard AITA laugh and say "He's not your dad, MJ," which caught me off guard. I guess she thought I couldn't hear her because there's a wall between the kitchen, but still, I don't know why AITA said that. MJ was confused as 5-year-olds are said I was, and AITA kept correcting her until MJ started crying, which honestly made me mad. I asked AITA why she would even say that, and AITA stated she was going to find out eventually, and I was an arse for not telling MJ in the first place. I got mad and one thing led to another. I said some things I shouldn't have, telling her she had no right, and AITA went home and me and MJ had dinner alone. AITA started blowing up my phone later saying what I did was wrong and basically was just ranting to me through text. I started doubting myself and now I'm here. So AITA, I was gonna tell MJ I was her brother someday, yes, but when she's old enough to understand, MJ is only 5, she doesn't make sense of it. Also sorry if I'm bad at explaining. Am I the asshole for a text I sent in a group chat while in labor? Let's jump into this. I, 29F, gave birth to my 3rd baby in November. The women in my husband's family, his 2 sisters, our Sil, and his mom, and I have a group chat whereas we send pictures of our kids, tell funny stories about our day, and In this case, send updates about possible labor. On this particular day in November, at 37 weeks plus 5 days gestation, I reached out to inform that this just might be the day my newest baby decides to make his grand entrance. I had been having strong contractions since 5:50 that morning. Everyone, except Sil, my husband's brother's wife, responded with excitement and praying hands emojis. Well, according to the nurses at the hospital, I wasn't dilated enough to be admitted, despite strong and frequent contractions. This was at noon. I updated the chat. Everyone seemed concerned and asked if I still thought if it might still be that day. I assured it was most likely going to happen that day, judging from past experiences, but I would go home to labor in comfort. This is where I might be the Ahole. My Sil, who also gave birth to her third baby a couple months prior, via C-section. I am not judging nor think of her as less than, just context is key. Decided to text how glad she was that I wasn't in real labor, and that it's better that I wait to have the baby another couple of weeks. She then sent a bunch of screenshots and links to articles about false labor and Braxton Hicks. As if I had never given birth before or experienced pregnancy before. I replied, mid-contraction. Not to be bitty, but this ain't my first rodeo, and I know how to Google things as well. And yes, I have been checked, and they will check again before deciding if I should go home or not. Well, I did go home, only to go back to the hospital a couple of hours later and had my baby at 10:15 that night. Sil does not reply to me in text, and has since unfriended me on Facebook. Not that I really care about that. I just want to know I was in a hole for what I said. And, in hindsight, perhaps I shouldn't have been texting in the group chat while in labor. So, Reddit. Was I in a hole? Edit. I meant to elaborate on the C-section detail. Which definitely makes me come across as someone who looks down on her for it. Which I do not. Her first baby was a preemie and she had an emergency C-section. Her youngest two were scheduled. The point I was trying to make was that our experiences with pregnancy and childbirth are completely different. Which, I could have said without the C-section fact. My apologies. Edit. A little more info about my Sil and my relationship. She thinks she's the matriarch of the family, even if she won't admit it. We recently moved out of state, only 2 hours away, long drive, but not as long as they treat it, a few months before I gave birth, and she started cutting us out of family get-together and even created a whole new group chat without my husband and me. She's always shocked at how intelligent my husband is because he went to community college instead of a university, like she did. I didn't go to college. I saw no point in going into debt. I didn't know what I would go to college for, so I decided to wait. So she often treats me like I am unintelligent. I think the snappy text was probably long incoming. But it was poorly timed and shouldn't have been in a group chat. It was not the first time I had gone off on her in a group chat either. She singled me out a few months prior, questioning my ability to care for my kids by myself while my husband was away for a couple of days. Yes, in the big family group chat. So I snapped back. My husband saw the message before me and said I'll let you handle her. As he held me back many times beforehand to keep peace. Like I said, it was possibly poorly timed but long incoming. What do you think after hearing these stories? Share your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, make sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos. See you soon again.